Hey guys, what's going on? Druzy here, back again with yet another South Park Phone Destroyer video and another beginner's guide here on the channel, as this will be the second beginner's guide that we have done here on the channel. We did the first guide talking about the adventure theme, but today we are shifting our focus to the sci-fi theme, which is actually my favorite theme in the entire game. I'm not saying it's the best theme, I think it's maybe the second best theme currently right now with the way the current meta is structured as I'm recording and uploading this video. But today's guide is similar to what we did in the last video, and if you missed the last video, I will post a link in the description down below for the adventure guide, and I will do that for all the continuing guides here going forward. But for the sci-fi guide, we are going to focus on the similar things that we focused on in the last one, where we talk about cards that you should focus on leveling and cards that you should probably do away with or not worry about using your materials to level up throughout the course of your leveling experience in the early part of your game with the sci-fi theme. Because the sci-fi theme can provide a lot of value for you. It is the second theme that you gain access to within the game through the campaign, so it is a theme that you're going to see a lot of in the early stages, and one that you need to kind of know the ins and outs of to be the most successful in your early gameplay experience with Phone Destroyer. So one of the first cards we're going to talk about, which is actually my favorite card in the entire game, as you can see up above me, is Astronaut Butters on my little overlay. But Astronaut Butters is a pretty solid card in the early phases of the game. As he goes along and you go higher and higher into silver and into hopefully legendary someday, you will probably not see much Astronaut Butters, because Astronaut Butters is probably the worst statistical Butters right now within the game. His Death Wish can be very nice. It speeds up his closest ally or leader for a certain period of time, which will increase the duration of that power duration as far as the time is concerned as you level him up. So take that into consideration. But his actual damage output is probably the worst out of all the Butters, because he has the slowest attack speed of all the Butters currently within the game. In fact, I think maybe Choirboy Butters is a little bit slower, but Choirboy Butters hits a little bit harder too. So all in all, Astronaut Butters is going to do the least amount of damage for you. Yes, he's a 2 energy cost, which is nice. His Death Wish has some value. I would definitely suggest getting Astronaut Butters to 3 or 4 in the early stages of your leveling experience if you want to use him. If you don't enjoy using Astronaut Butters, I would do away with him and focus on either Deckhand Butters or something like the Fantasy Butters. Paladin Butters is probably going to be a little bit better for you in your early play experience. But if you're going to roll sci-fi, you need an assassin. Astronaut Butters is a pretty good go-to assassin for the sci-fi theme, but there are better assassins out there. So if you don't need to use him, I would not suggest committing a lot to leveling him if you don't need him. But one that you need to level up because he is extremely useful is Enforcer Jimmy. Probably one of the best rare cards in the entire game currently as the meta is structured. Enforcer Jimmy with his 2 energy costs is one of the lowest costs for fighter cards you're going to find, and he provides a decent amount of value. He doesn't have the greatest stats in the world, but his aura, where enemies nearby cannot charge, is really nice. It can delay. It can act basically as an aura power bind in functionality. It will provide a lot of value for you in your early play experience. You're going to be running into a lot of 69 Randys, or just Randys in general. Randys run rampant in the early stages of this game. You may run into a Stand of Many Moons. If you can get an Enforcer Jimmy out there, stop him from being able to cast that devastating charged ability that's just going to devastate most of your units, it can provide a ton of value. And again, he's got pretty good health, okay damage output, but if you can get Enforcer Jimmy leveled up, level him up as often and as frequently as you can, because he can, again, provide a decent amount of value. He's going to have a good health scaling for you in the early stages, and again, with his 2 energy cost, you're going to be able to get him out a lot, and that aura is going to provide a ton of value for you. It's just going to have to be a learning curve for you in the early stages of learning when to use that aura to your advantage. If they already have the charged ability at the ready, his aura will not stop it. His aura will only stop if the charge ability has not been fully obtained yet. So if the charge ability is about halfway, it will stay at halfway until Enforcer Jimmy dies. So that's a key component to take into consideration, that if somebody has a charge already at the ready and you put Enforcer Jimmy down, that charge ability is still going to come out. Or it cannot technically be stopped by his aura ability, but if they don't have it obtained yet, it's just going to delay it up until he's killed. So definitely work and focus on Enforcer Jimmy, and I need to probably do that myself, in all honesty, with my free-to-play account. Alien Clyde is a card that has a lot of value still, I think, even as a common card right now, even though the meta has shifted away from common cards because common cards have been nerfed multiple times. But Alien Clyde still provides a good amount of value with his level 3 common fighter. His poison still provides a ton of value, which increases the amount of damage that it does over time as you level him up. As of right now, I have 17 seconds, 17 poison tick for 20 seconds, and that will go up to 19 here once I level him up the next time. But Alien Clyde, I have him to level 6 on my main account, and I can still use him situationally at times. I've seen people use him at level 6, level 7, even in relatively high tiers of Legendary Arena, and he still can provide that good value with that poison damage because not a lot of people run Purify very much right now with the way the meta goes, and so that poison's going to be able to do a ton of damage for you. Yes, still a lot of people that run Mystical will roll some kind of heal spell as well, either Regeneration or Hallelujah, but I think the poison, if used correctly, will shoot it at a random enemy, but generally you can use it to go against the enemy that was last summoned, which again can provide a ton of value for you, and generally is best to be used against a range unit to try to take that range unit out that's going to be pesky, sit behind a tank card, and just going to be able to poke away at you. But Alien Clyde, and then he's still got really good scaling with his health and damage in my opinion, even for a common card, to where he still can provide a good amount of damage and just stay alive for a little while, other than just his Warcry ability being the true value of Alien Clyde. But the Warcry is obviously very, very good. Bounty Hunter Kyle is, in my opinion, the best range card in the entire game right now, which some people have debated this with me, and that is purely okay. I still think he provides the most value because if you can keep him alive long enough, he can just provide a ton of value. If he kills a unit, he heals them. He also gives an attack boost to any and all units that he hits with a basic attack on your allied units, So all your allied units, if he hits any unit, doesn't matter what it is, he will give a bonus +2, which will increase, but right now mine is only a +2 attack boost at the level that I have my Bounty Hunter Kyle at. Once you get him to level 4, which is going to take some time, you're not going to do that in the early stages of this game, but if you can get Bounty Hunter Kyle to level 4, he will survive a level 4 Aerostorm, and which is just devastating, to where you're going to have to use either a cancel card or a lightning bolt of similar level to be able to take him out. So at a level 3 cost, he just can provide so much value with his ability to heal if he kills units, his ability to increase the attack damage of all allied units on the field just by hitting them with a basic attack. It's a 3.7 range, which means he will take zap damage. He is just within zap damage range. But he has a flying unit, which is also huge value. A lot of people don't have a lot of cards that can deal with flying units. Flying units are very difficult to deal with, still within this meta structure. And so there are more units now that have been added to the game that can deal with flying units, but flying units can still provide a ton of value for you in your experience. Bounty Hunter Kyle is one of the best cards for PvE without question, but he also provides a ton of value in PvP as well. So if you're just grinding through the campaign levels, Bounty Hunter Kyle is a great card to turn to. Pair him with a mystical deck that can heal him and keep him alive, and you'll just do devastating damage, and it won't even be fair. But Bounty Hunter Kyle is an extremely useful card, and one I would highly suggest if you can obtain him. Now, granted, you're not going to get him right away. You're going to have to hopefully unlock him throughout, whether it's buying him in PvP packs or in the PvP shop, which is the way I've gotten most of him, is buying him in the PvP shop. Saving up those PvP tickets and saving it for epic cards, especially one like him, is an extremely smart thing to do. Freeze Ray is a card that has now kind of shifted back into the meta, I think, a little bit more than what was even the case just a couple of months ago. I think Freeze Ray provides a ton of value if you use it at the right times, because it's going to stop those units from moving for 4 seconds, and the range is going to increase as you continue to level it. And I think the power duration will also increase as you level it after a certain point. But that freeze for 4 seconds is pretty nice, and it's only a 3 energy cost. And because it's a spell, you don't have to use materials to level it, only gold. So I think Freeze Ray is something that you should put some effort into. Maybe not at the very beginning of your sci-fi experience, but maybe towards the mid to the end, more late game, towards you get closer to Legendary Arena. Because again, Freeze Ray can be very useful for you. Not really going to be a lot of value in PvE, but definitely in PvP, you can use it to kind of sneak up on somebody, maybe sneak a bar, use it to kind of get a Dougie to the new kid possibly and get a kill. Or if you have a unit that's getting close to the new kid that just needs to do 1 or 2 hits, Freeze Ray can be really nice because it's going to stop the new kid, stop any units around the power duration that it hits, but it's going to freeze any and all enemies on the field, which is very, very nice. Or it can be helped in a defensive mode as well. So I think Freeze Ray, again, it's not something that you need to focus on right away, but something that I would keep in mind if it's something that you want to try to do sci-fi for a long-term use within the game, because it can be very, very useful. The next two cards, we're going to talk about briefly Ice Sniper Wendy. In all honesty, Ice Sniper Wendy, some people like her. I think that she doesn't provide enough value yet. She's been buffed a couple of times, but I still think that her damage output is not very good. Her health is not that great, and her charge ability, the freezing three enemies within a certain range, just doesn't do enough value for me. In all honesty, I just don't think Ice Sniper Wendy is a card that you should put a lot of effort into. Personally, some people will disagree with me and say Ice Sniper Wendy is a great card to level up, but at the early game especially, there are cards that will provide more value for you that materials can go into other than Ice Sniper Wendy. If you want to level up Ice Sniper Wendy, I wouldn't take her much past level 2, level 3, unless you want to, or you just have to go all in with her and just keep leveling her as fast as you can as you level up sci-fi. But there are a lot of better range cards within the sci-fi theme, so Ice Sniper Wendy, in all honesty, doesn't need to really be focused on too much. Poison as well. Poison provides a ton of value in the early stages in Bronze Shield. Once you get to Silver Shield, Poison is basically worthless, and is very much so worthless in Legendary Arena, in my opinion, because there's so many cards that have so much health. Poison's just not going to do enough damage over time. Plus, most people are running Mystical, and they're running a heal like Regeneration. Regeneration is essentially the pure cancel to Poison. You don't even need Purify. You can just basically just immediately regen, and any and all poison damage is just erased. And then usually the regen will probably be higher level than your poison, so they'll actually get more health than the damage that you did with poison. So in all honesty, you can get poison to level 2, level 3, probably be the highest I would suggest you go. As you get poison and you get it defaultly, whether in packs, free packs, PvP packs that you unlock, I wouldn't request poison, I guess is the reason that I'm bringing this up. Because there are far better spell cards that you can use that are going to provide more value for you than poison's going to. But in the early game in Bronze Shield at least, cards are going to be low enough health-wise that poison is going to be able to do enough damage to be of value for you. It's great at canceling swarm cards, but that's really about it. And the only really high swarm card you're going to see a lot in Legendary Arena is Chicken Coop, and poison's not going to kill Chicken Coop. It's only going to kill maybe a couple of chickens on the field, or cocks on the field, and that's just not going to be enough value for you. So I would suggest not putting a lot of effort into poison. As you defaultly unlock it, you can put points into it and level it up if you want to, but in all honesty, I would just kind of stay away from poison. Our next card we're going to talk about is Program Stan, one of the most used epic cards right now within the game, and probably one of the best epic cards, especially for sci-fi, right now that you can get. He can provide a ton of value, guys, with his charge ability, which freezes and damages all enemies. That's ground units, air units, any and all enemies. It doesn't do a ton of damage, as you see. It only does 28 damage for me at the level that I have it right now. And the power duration doesn't last quite as long as some of the other freezes do, but Program Stan can do a ton of health, can do a ton of damage. It's pretty good health scaling as you level him up. He's only a 3 energy fighter card, and he can provide a ton of value with his freeze if used situationally. You can freeze a bunch of enemies and then be able to do some poke damage if you have like a Starvin' Marvin coming down the field. You freeze with Program Stan, and now Starvin' Marvin gets maybe a hit or two that he wouldn't have had if you didn't use that freeze. Or something like Imp Tweak, or one of the Dougies, which is the most widely used thing with Program Stan. If you put Program Stan behind your enemy, your new kid line, and then wait till he gets about to the midline, and then cast your Dougie out and use Program Stan, it's going to be able to do that damage for you with his freeze ability to be able to provide that value. Program Stan is definitely an epic card that you're going to get relatively early on, or have the ability to get to early on. And then once you get him, hopefully you'll be able to be lucky enough to obtain him, and then as soon as you obtain him, I would level him as quickly as possible, because if you can get a level 2 Program Stan in the Bronze Shield, you're going to get the Silver Shield very easily, and it's going to be able to you to learn how to use him very quickly, and again, he can provide a ton of value for you. Robo Baby, in my opinion, is the best Bebe in the game. Now, some people will debate this and say that no, Drew, it's Blood Elf Bebe, and I disagree on my end. Especially in the early game, Robo Baby is by far the more useful Bebe, because a lot of people use Swarm in the early phases of as you're leveling throughout the course of the game in PvP. You're going to see a lot of rats, or a lot more rats than you're going to see in the future. You're going to see a decent amount of Chicken Coop as you get into the Silver Shield, and especially in the Legendary Arena. If you can get Robo Baby as fast as you can level her, because she's a common card, you're going to be able to request her very quickly, and you should be able to obtain her relatively easily. She is a very devastating card. When she kills something with her basic attack, it increases her attack speed and her movement speed and this stacks up to 3 times, which basically means that her damage per second skyrockets if she gets all 3 stacks. So if you're going up against someone with the swarm units, pigeons still run pretty rampant in bronze and silver shield. Someone throws down pigeons, you put Robo Baby down there, those pigeons are going to be liquefied very quickly, and then Robo Baby is going to get that much stronger. And she's going to be able to do a devastating amount of damage. Her range is also a 4, which means she's going to be out of zap damage. So if she gets the new kid and she's, they don't have any units to stop her, she's going to be able to do all that poke damage. Hopefully have her attack speed and increased as well, so she'll just do even more damage over time. But Robo Baby is a card that I have requested pretty much every time I've been able to obtain her, because I've been trying to level her as quickly as possible, because she is a very, very strong card right now within the current meta structure. Blood Elf Baby is very good, don't get me wrong, but I think Robo Baby is the better Baby right now, especially in the early game. She is going to provide a ton of value for you. Space Warrior Token's kind of a hit and miss card. Some people really like him or don't like him at all. I'm not a big fan of Space Warrior Token, but he can provide a good amount of value with his charge ability, which will rush and strike the nearest enemy with a boosted attack. Now, the upside of this charge ability is if there are no defensive units in front of the new kid, he will attack the new kid first. So that can be a nice little additional boost to damage that you can see from Space Warrior Token, where he charges forward and hits the new kid, and then he'll be able to hit the new kid a couple times with his basic attack, generally as well, before he's able to die. I would suggest, if you decide to increase Space Warrior Token, to go all in with him. He's going to be a card that's going to get beefier and better over time, and most people don't cancel him very much, so you can use him to your advantage. But if you don't have any interest in Space Warrior Token, much like myself, I would not really invest anything in him at all. And if you're going to, wait till the late game to do it. Because in the early game, I don't think Space Warrior Token provides as much value as some other rare cards or other cards within the sci-fi theme. So I would kind of steer away from Space Warrior Token in the early stages, in my opinion. But some people, again, will say, Drew, Space Warrior Token is extremely useful. And he can be. He can really be if you can kind of catch your opponent off guard with him, because sometimes people just kind of ignore him and don't view him as much of a threat. But if that charge ability can hit the new kid, it can be devastating. It can really turn the tide of a fight. So it's kind of hit and miss with Space Warrior Token, in my opinion. Another epic card, talk about Cyborg Kenny. Now, Cyborg Kenny can provide a ton of value for you, but he is a very situational card. He's a 4 energy cost assassin unit, which is kind of expensive, but Cyborg Kenny can provide a ton of value if, when he dies, the unit that kills him, he will heal that unit, and then that unit becomes mind controlled to your side for 10 seconds, which is extremely useful. So the only thing that will increase as you level Cyborg Kenny is the amount of heal that that unit gets, as well as his base attack and base health himself. Cyborg Kenny is going to be a situational card, like I said. I wouldn't just cast Cyborg Kenny out every time you have him on the field and use him. I would use him to your advantage. Cast him out against a unit that you want mind controlled to your side. Or if there's an opportunity, you can take a card out very quickly, and that they're not going to have anything to counter it, then use Cyborg Kenny. But Cyborg Kenny can be very easily countered again by swarm units. The best thing to go against a Cyborg Kenny is something like Chicken Coop or something like Rats. Rats is probably the best counter for Cyborg Kenny, because the Rats will swarm it, will kill it very quickly, and then if a rat dies to Cyborg Kenny, the other rat will just immediately cancel it, and then you're pretty much no harm, no foul in that regard. So Cyborg Kenny is very tricky to kind of learn how to use, but can provide a ton of value, probably more in Silver and Legendary Arena, where you'll be able to probably obtain him a lot easier. But again, he's an epic card, so not something you're going to get right away or very easy for you to be able to obtain. But Cyborg Kenny, if you can get him and you use him at the right moments, can be very, very good for you in a fight. Hyperdrive is a card you don't really need to level, you don't really need to worry on. Right now, Hyperdrive isn't really used much within the current meta structure. I really enjoyed using it in the early parts of the game. There was some glitches with it at one point. Those have all been fixed. But it doubles the speed of all allies for a power duration, which increases as you level it. But all in all, I would just avoid Hyperdrive in all reality. Marine Craig is a card that's received a couple of buffs. He's a card that his Warcry is okay. It's much better in the early game than it is in the later game, where it poisons the enemy leader and the closest enemies by double this amount, which is usually 5 per second or so. Well, it's 5 per second right now at base level 1, but as you level him up, the power range and the poison damage will increase for his Warcry damage, but his health and damage scaling, in my opinion, is not good enough for Marine Craig to really be used on a grand scale, because Marine Craig just isn't as strong as some of the other range cards, plus the fact that he's a 4 energy cost is a real hindrance to me. I don't like a lot of some of the 4 energy cost range cards are very good, and some of them are very bad. And in just my opinion, Marine Craigs are still not in a great place for me personally. So I would kind of not really focus much on Marine Craig. If you're going to, I would do it early on. I would not do it, wait till late game to try to do that. But Marine Craig is one I would personally suggest you guys avoid. But Mind Control, this card, don't worry so much about leveling it. This isn't as important, but Mind Control is one of the most important cards right now within the game for one main reason: Dougies. Dougies are everywhere, guys. You're going to see a lot of Dougies in Silver, a lot of Dougies in Legendary, and you'll probably see them in Bronze too. When you get Mind Control, now Mind Control again is not a card you're going to get right away. When you get to Mind Control, I would put it in if you run Sci-Fi, I would put it in every deck that you have that has Sci-Fi, of course. Because Mind Control, if you use it at the right time, can only be used on your offensive side of the field. But if someone casts a Dougie on you, you Mind Control it, that Dougie is yours. And they're not going to really be able to stop it unless they Mind Control it back or they cancel it. And it can just be really nice for you to be able to help counter a Dougie. It's the best counter for Dougies right now within the game, in my opinion. Better than just a straight cancel card. Because Mind Control is going to get it to where not only do you take control of it, but you use it against them, where you can use it to take a bar, or just do a devastating amount of damage to their new kid, or make them waste a cancel card spell on their own card. So Mind Control is a card that I would highly suggest you use if you're running Sci-Fi right now forever until this beta shifts and Dougies are no longer the most viable unit. But Mind Control is super, super effective right now. If you get it to where you can level it, you can go ahead and level it. Increasing the power duration is not going to hurt you by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not necessary. Mind Control level 1 is perfect for you in Silver and Bronze and Silver Shield, but a card I would definitely work on. If you want to use a Dougie, you can't really go wrong with Power Fist Dougie. He's not the best Dougie right now, but he's pretty darn good. His Headhunter ability, he freezes the enemy leader and any enemies nearby within a certain duration for I believe the 2-second duration with that initial freeze, which is really nice. It can get Power Fist Dougie to get at least probably 2 hits off before he's going to die, unless they cancel him out or use Mind Control on you or something like that. But Power Fist Dougie is, I think, a little underrated as far as a Dougie card. Again, he's not the best Dougie. I still think that's Barrel Dougie, which I discussed in the adventure theme. But I think Power Fist Dougie can provide some value for you if you want to use a Dougie right now within the meta structure. And Dougies are everywhere, guys. It's just an inevitability. As much as I hate discussing it, as much as I hate admitting it, and I don't like using Dougies myself, Power Fist Dougie is a pretty strong way to go if you want to do that. Warboy tweak, don't touch him. Right now with the way the meta is, he is not very, he's terrible. He doesn't have good health, he doesn't have good damage, his power duration Warcry is not very good. My suggestion, don't touch Warboy tweak at all. Just leave him alone, don't touch him. Alien Queen Red can provide a ton of value as you level her up. I would suggest leveling her. As of right now, I've kind of stayed away from her, but it's something that you can level her up. She provides a good amount of value with her Warcry. She is the closest that Sci-Fi has to a direct cancel right now in the game. Of that poison damage is it's permanent. It does not go away. The only way to get rid of that Alien Queen Red poison is purifying all of the units, which nobody runs Shaman Token anymore, and hardly anybody runs Purify anymore. So Alien Queen Red's just going to be that much more value. She has a high energy cost of 5 energy, and best used when there are a ton of enemy units on the field, not 1 or 2. But Alien Queen Red can still provide some value in a card that I would put some effort into if you want to use her. But it's not necessary, but she can provide some good value for you. And the last Sci-Fi card, and probably the best card in the Sci-Fi theme, or at least top 2, is the Awesomo 4000. In my opinion right now, the Awesomo 4000 might be the best Cartman card in the entire game, because he's just that good. He's an epic rarity, 5 energy cost. You're going to get him very early on. I was lucky enough to get him to level 2 because he was offered multiple times in my PvP shop. He is definitely a card. If he's in your PvP shop and you want to roll Sci-Fi, you need him. He is a very, very good tank card. He has a pretty good health scaling. His attack damage isn't that great, but it's his charge ability. His charge ability freezes nearby enemies for 4 seconds. That is huge. 4 seconds is a long time, guys, in a fight. It doesn't seem like that long, but it really is. You can kill a decent amount of units if you have enough support around him to really turn the tide of a fight or just take advantage back in your favor. Awesomo will freeze air units. He will freeze ground units. It doesn't matter what it is. He'll freeze any unit or any enemy unit on the field. He does not freeze the new kid, so that is something that he doesn't do. But he will freeze enemy units, which is still extremely nice. And again, his health scaling is pretty darn good, especially in the early stages of the game. If you can get him to max level 2 very quickly, he'll have a little over 1,000 health, and it'll be very hard to deal with him. So I would very much suggest that if you can get Awesomo, get your hands on Awesomo, get him to level 2 quickly. Obviously, it's going to be a little difficult because there's an epic card, and you may have to wait on it. But as a free-to-play player, as you see, I got him to level 2 pretty easily, within about a month or so. And he's really helped me get into Silver Shield very quickly because the Awesomo 4000 is an extremely useful tank card. And if you pair him with something like Bounty Hunter Kyle or some other range units back behind him, and then maybe a Tally or something around him to slow enemy units and stuff like that, Awesomo should provide a ton of value for you. But the Awesomo 4000, probably in my opinion, one of the best tank cards in the game right now, probably first or second best tank card. Some would debate that it is Zen Cartman still. I think Awesomo is a little bit more value than Zen Cartman does, in my opinion, but that's just me. That's up for debate with you guys. But that is our look today, guys, at the sci-fi theme, a beginner's guide for you guys. Did a little bit different than I did with the adventure theme. The adventure theme I kind of focused on the card rarities. Today I just went through each card that I currently have obtained. Again, there are legendary cards for this theme. There are two. There is Mecha Timmy and there is 6 Element Randy. Those are two very good legendary cards, but again, you're probably not going to get them very easily, and it's going to be very hard to get them, so that's why I didn't talk about them in this beginner's guide. But if you have those two cards, both of them are very good. I would very much suggest using Mecha Timmy over using 6 Element Randy. 6 Element Randy at level 1 isn't that great. He's much better at level 3 or above, but Mecha Timmy at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 is still a very good card in the game, even though he's been nerfed a little bit, but he still provides a ton of value for you. But if you get your hands on Mecha Timmy, if you're lucky enough to do that, use him in your deck if you're running sci-fi. He is still one of the strongest, if not the strongest range card in the game right now. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Again, let me know down below what you think of any of those cards that we talked about today, if you agree, disagree. And there will be a beginner's guide for Mystical and Fantasy for sure. If you'd like to see one on Neutral, I could possibly do that as well, but that will come at a later date. But thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and supporting these types of videos. Again, let me know any other ideas for other video topics that you guys would like to see down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, my name is Druzy.